Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well. I am, and thank you for tuning in to Healing in the Vein with yours truly, Brian. And as you can see, I got my hair done. It's nice, fresh. Um, but tonight, I wish to talk to you about enough is enough. There, there's some things that people go through. There's so many conversations that people have. There's so many situations um, that people live and experiences, and it all equates to life, right? Um, but when I'm talking about enough is enough, it is this enough. It's like, yeah, we get sick and tired of things being the same, but for some people, that enough period never comes. It doesn't exist, or they shy away from it. And so tonight's enough is enough is for those of you who refuse to change, for those of you who like to stay in your mess. I'm not even going to pose the question as to why, but I will pose you this. How could you think that everything around you must change and you must remain constant? What gives you the right to not change? Who told you that you didn't need to change? Habits that you have, things that you do, the way you speak to people, the things that you do. Because honestly, we all must go through a period of change that will help us grow, right? That will help us mature. And what it appears is that you would rather stay in your immaturity than to grow. And a stunted growth in science is known as a defect. It means that it's not working. The thing or the person or the being, I would say, and I'm because incorporating animals and plants, right? If it doesn't do what it was supposed to do, it's it's defective. It's not working at its full potential. And so when we're talking about this type of enough, understand that we're talking about how you refuse to grow because you are living in an ineffective state of mind. You're living in an area that you say, I refuse to grow, I refuse to change, I refuse, I refuse, I refuse. But yet in your refusal, there are always things that you wish to happen. So me and a friend were talking about how people drain you, right? How people ask things of you and never seem to think that, hey, maybe this person needs to be poured back into. And so we begin to talk about maybe we should stop giving, right? Maybe we should change up like how everybody else change up. But then I was reminded that that shows our strength. It shows us how strong, because no matter what we go through, when we maintain and continue to love the way that we're supposed to love, it doesn't matter what you throw at me. It doesn't matter if you decide not to change how you treat me. I have that option to change. I have that option to walk away and, for lack of a better term, let you feed yourself to the wolves. Um, but it's interesting because every year people celebrate their birthdays like on the dot. They have weekends. They plan out the lavish parties. They're celebrating that they've become a year older. But when it comes to true internal change, people shy away. People disregard it as if it doesn't exist. Excuse me, my nose is running. And I'm reminded right now of the story when Jesus cursed the fig tree. And he cursed the fig tree because the fig tree did not produce any figs. And so he cursed it and it died. God doesn't do that to his kids. He doesn't kill out because they wouldn't change. He has grace now, and grace kind of protects them, right? The thing is, he withholds things. Things happen because in the refusal to change, God sets up our lives in a way where, okay, if they don't do it, I have to show them that they must do it. I'm going to put them in predicaments that they can't get out until they change. And that could be the answer, literally, for so many of your problems, but you refuse to do it. You are so stubborn that you will rather suffer openly than to change and heal yourself and be healed openly. So at some point, it's when are you going to drink that V8? When are you going to, get that knock? And when are you going to answer? I did a message a few months ago that said, don't ignore the signs. Like, don't ignore the message. And it's because, and it is so much wisdom and knowledge and understanding of how our lives can be and what we can do to manifest greatness in the world. A lot of times people think about, oh, well, this person didn't do it, that person didn't do it, so why I got to do it, right? But you don't know what else that those people had to give up. There is something that they had to give up to get to a better place in life, whether they say it out loud or not. Or maybe it's just hasn't been their time to give up anything, right? Because we all go through periods and seasons of things where we must do certain things, and that is okay, right? But whenever you decide to stunt your growth and refuse to change, you're the caterpillar that says, I'm not gonna create a cocoon. I don't want to expand my territory by growing wings and being able to fly. I want to crawl on the ground for the rest of my life. But you cover more ground whenever you're the butterfly. Whereas it took you 2 hours to get from one tree to the next, it now takes you 15 minutes. But you refuse to embrace it. You refuse to see the value, the essence of change. I don't know why, but I'm being led to tell a story about a horse, a story that I went through when I was a kid. So whenever I was a kid, my mother went to get her hair done, and I, I was maybe like 5 or 6, maybe. And I went outside, and I just got tired of waiting inside, and I saw a horse, and the horse was so beautiful, and it was huge. But I love animals, so I didn't think nothing of it. And I saw this fence, and I walked to the horse, and it was further away from the fence. But I was like, if I picked up the grass, I know that the horse would come to me. And so I picked up some grass that was long, some maybe there it was weeds. Now that I'm older, it may have been weeds, but I knew it was something green that the horse would enjoy eating. So I picked up my hand and I held it out, and the horse came, and the horse started eating the grass from my hands. Right, I never touched the horse, but I got close enough to. But as I was going to touch, my mom was coming out of the beauty salon, and she and the her hairdresser came out, and they're like, "No, no, no, don't touch that." And my mom said, "Well, did you get shot by the fence?" And I said, "No, I didn't touch the fence." So I touched the fence, and then it didn't shock me, but it was did some vibrational things, and I was like, "Oh." Um, she was like, "Come over here before that, the horse eats you, right?" Or not really eat me, because we know that horses don't eat people, right? But before it, gnawed my fingers. And so I told her it's not gonna bother me. But it's that fearlessness. Thank you. That fearlessness of a child to conquer things or to embrace things that are bigger. That is what the Spirit wants us to do. That is why we change, because when we change, we're able to conquer those things that seem big, only to find out later that they're actually smaller than what they are. But we got to have that fearlessness. And the reason why a lot of people don't change, a lot of reasons why the people don't get to that state of enough, is because they love to live in fear. So now my question is to you, why do you love to live in fear? What about fear is comfortable? What about fear says it creates safety? What about fear lets you know that everything is going to be all right when your heart is beating 10,000 miles per hour? Does that seem like it's all right? Does everything seem all right? And you can have a smile on your face, and you could try to cover it up and put on a mask, but your actions will be erratic. You will try to hide things and fumble and fail only because you are being fearful of those things that you are supposed to be conquering. So when do you tell yourself enough is enough? When do you tell yourself, I can't live like this anymore? I got to make a change. And that really goes for anything, physical, spiritual. When do you get to that point in your life where you say, I can no longer go through this? I can no longer accept this as truth when they're lies. And I'm talking for that aspect, I'm talking more mental. When are you going to stop believing the lies that you tell yourself out of comforting yourself because you refuse to change? Prime example, something can be wrong with you. People say, are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. I'm really fine. Did my eyes look convincing? Right. People could tell when you're hiding things. People can tell, especially heartfelt things. People can tell the difference when you're being truthful and when you're not. They may not say it, but they see it. And some people live so oblivious to it all that they're so consumed with self that they don't understand that, hey, if I don't change, people will stop leaving me, right? I will stop feeling like people are leaving me because people never really left you, but you pushed them out. You kicked them out because you refuse to change. And when you refuse to change, you're telling the creator, I don't want to be that pot. I don't want to be that pipe. I don't want to be that statue. I want to just remain simple mud. I don't want to be conformed and embraced and molded. I don't want to be used. And I saw a post earlier from one of my good frat brothers. And it said, I'm praying for y'all who have, what was it? Doctorate degrees, but you don't have an undergraduate degree or a GED. That is out of order. And you can do things like that um, scholastically, but it's not recognized. It's under false pretenses. You can't go to an institution of higher learning and say, oh, I have my doctorate degree. Oh, what was your undergraduate studies in? And you're looking, well, I don't have those. Do things the right way the first time. And even in that is an uncomfortability for people. People don't want to do the right things because it takes too long, or it's an urgency to do X, Y, and Z, right? But when you have these urgencies, it's not necessarily because it's an emergency. It's because that you rather speed along the process and you think that by skipping a few steps that you will be okay. And that's not how the world works. That's not how spirit works. In the beginning of the world, science teaches that it took thousands of years for the world to develop. And in Genesis, the Bible said it took God 7 days. But here in it, it also says that 1,000 years is but a day for God. So 1,000 man years is one day for God. I just want that to sink in. So whereas you see miracles happen and you saw the formation of the earth take 7 days, but in reality, it was like 7,000 years. If the world decided to remain the same, we wouldn't see the daylight and the night. We wouldn't see land, because the Bible lets us know that the world was dark and void and full of water. It didn't say nothing about land. It said that the Spirit hovered over the deep. The deep is the ocean. That means the world was a bowl full of water until God did some division and made the world come up. I mean, there was earth. Let me put it this way. Let me say this. There was earth, but the earth was covered in water. Another thing that science teaches. And I'm saying all of that because without man studying the earth, taking the time to study, no matter how long it took, and I will say this, man is still studying the earth, mind you. We haven't perfected earth. The earth is ever changing. The earth is always throwing us curveballs, right? But what I will say is, just like it took God 7 days to make the earth as it should be in its present form, He didn't just, and God could, right? But God didn't do that. God was letting us know then that sometimes it takes a longer process to get to perfection, for things to happen. And that is okay. Because at the end of the process, things will be perfect or good. And God saw that it was good, right? And even Jesus had to learn about the Bible as a kid and study under the prophets and study under the leadership teams of his time, in the church. He had to study as a kid, and he was the son of God. So what makes you think that you can just skip over? I was about to say grades, but well, yeah, grades, and work your way up to a mastery level when you haven't proven yourself from the beginning at the baby steps, when you haven't proven that you can accept change and go through change. Because that is all that school teaches you. It takes you to one level, and then it tests you on these skill sets so that you can develop something else more, whatever your next step is. And some people will rather stay in that child. Some people, to put it into term in the school terms, since I'm using school here, put it into terms. It's like you going to a major university with a high school degree saying, I want to teach this class all about biology. Your brain only knows 12th grade biology. And really, well, I don't know what the schools are doing now, but whenever I was in high school, I took biology in 10th grade. So now, drum roll, you mean to tell me that you have a 15-year-old education on biology, but you want to go to an institution of higher learning to teach biology? What can you possibly teach except for that was taught to you? Doctorate level anything is all about lived experiences and the things that you have done and orchestrated, um, and when I say learned as in actually being in the practice of. I don't know why my mind went there, but enough of that. Do it right. But to bridge it together, some places do allow people to move up in such a fashion. It is not advisable to do so. But in the rest of your life, you will not have that luxury to move that quickly. There are actually some people who do believe, like, oh, I'm about to be a famous singer. All I gotta do is sing, and I'ma sing, and I'ma sing, and then everybody they get notoriety, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, you got a really good singing voice, and oh, I want your autograph, and oh, I want you to come sing for me here and sing for me there, and that is fine and dandy. But at some point, you have to get vocal lessons. You could be a great singer, but you still got to know how to carry that tune. You still got to know how to breathe correctly. You still got to know, make sure that when you're running across the stage or wherever the venue is, if you're doing a lot of movement, that you're able to breathe and carry that note at the same time. You can't just sing, have a good voice and sing. You have to train up your voice. There's certain ways you got to sing. You got to in order to protect your voice, but you won't know that unless you go through the process of actually making the change. Because if not, you're going to get out there and fall flat on your face and look embarrassed. And then you're going to say, I don't understand what happened. I don't know why, uh, I choked the way I choked. I don't know why my voice started straining the way it started to strain. And people, they just said so many bad things about me. And now I just want to give up. And it's like, no, 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 no. Don't come from that place of defeat because just pick up your pieces. Now that you know what you're not supposed to do, do it. Do it in a way where it is so beneficial to you that that like the things start to actually work in your favor. Meaning, if yes, you got to start from baby steps to get to that next step, do it. Don't remain in that same situation. Don't remain in that same stupor. Don't continue to wear those Don't continue to wear those baby clothes that are no longer fitting you. You're squeezing the life out of yourself because it's too tight. You make yourself look foolish because you're walking down the street in a extra small shirt when you know that you should be in a triple X shirt. How'd you get it on is beyond me, but you can't just walk in life and and not realize that you have to change. We see what happens in our political state of being. Like, look at all the policies and the rules and the regulations that people constantly put in that either pushes us back a few centuries or because they don't change their way of thinking. They had these same thoughts. That their minds haven't caught up with the changing times of the world, and so they hold on to these things, this gospel, what have you. And when I say gospel, I'm just using it as an example, not necessarily tackling the church, but I'm just saying that they have all this doctrine, all this gospel, and all these words, and they get caught up in it, and there's no changing of the heart, right? That means that how you are applying the gospel is ineffective. You're and you're ruling from that place of fear. When you're fearful, your mind makes up stories. Your mind makes up events that could happen. It's that, oh, if so right now is the beginning process of a storm, and I saw it coming earlier. But if I was in a fearful mind, I was like, oh, I gotta I gotta put some wood up on my windows because if I don't, the tree is gonna come through and it's gonna a tree may come through the window and I don't want to be sitting here. So maybe I need to go um, put myself by my door because if I put myself by my door, there's no windows there, and But oh, I gotta make sure that okay, well yeah, there's somebody above me, so I'm gonna make sure I put something above my head because I don't. It just in case the tree comes and falls on top of their roof, and then it comes through their apartment, and then they fall on top of me. I need to make sure that I'm good and embraceful and now I've created an anxious moment out of wind and thunder. It's not lightning, it's not raining. It's just literally right now it's wind and thunder. But because I'm fearful of a storm, I have now created and concoct up a story that may or may not happen, right? I've concocted up a story that I have now become afraid of. And that's what happens when people refuse to change. Is because you're coming up with stories that are unbelievable. You're coming up with stories that doesn't make any sense because you refuse to change and see how things um, are. You've made up in your mind what a situation could be as opposed to listening at what it should be because you should be beyond that stage of fear, especially if you are a child of God. You should not be living in fear. And the biggest thing I have seen a lot of politicians do is they live in fear so hard that they come up with laws of destruction. I'm looking at this show called The Rookie. And in the first season, this cop shoots and kills a man because he was afraid that the man was going to shoot him first. And we've seen that several times throughout the years, cops killing people because they appear to be fearful of them. But in this case, you can see the guy was fearful, right? And so when you're fearful, you kill things. You decide that you want to be out of the survival of the fittest. You want to make sure that you're on top of the food chain, right? That's how I need for everyone to start looking at laws. Who is this actually benefiting? What are these people fearing the most? Because they tell you what they're fearful of, but it holds no weight because fear is also an emotion that is untrue. Prime example, how many times as a kid that you was afraid of the dark, of the chair that was sitting in the corner of your room with nothing on it but your clothes for the next day? You believed it to be a monster, so you became fearful of it. And who knows what you did in your state of fear? Peed the bed, pulled the blanket over your head, afraid to get up at night and open the door. You made sure there was a flashlight and if not under your bed, but under your pillow. All of these things you make up in your head, you give yourself anxiety because of the perceived monster that's on the other side of the room in the corner when nothing was there. And when you see the truth, it's like, oh, that was just a chair with my clothes in it. I thought it was a monster. I'm sorry. You know? And that's what how these laws are starting to come out. People are starting to make up things out of fear. that jeopardize the health and the life and the well-being of other people. And so instead of changing their perception, instead of actually learning what is happening, they make things up and they write it as gospel and they get in front of TVs and newscasts and label it out. They make all these commentaries and they try to get you to see their side. And some people fall for it. Okay, a lot of people fall for it because they're not discerning what's actually happening. There was a few laws in North Carolina one year, and um, this was during the time when they were trying to talk about gay marriage, and it was gay marriage, and it was something else dealing with. Um, I think it was just gay marriage because they knew the Republican Party knew that a lot of people were not for gay marriage, so they said, okay, in order for us to get this bill passed, we need to make sure that we say that this is the bill that is tackling gay marriage. What they did not tell the people was that also along with this bill was different medical rights that was taking away medical rights from people that was on Medicaid, uh, for women that was giving birth, even and in some cases some children's things, which ironically is being said now, but being twisted. But anyway, along with this, so many people voted, well, no, we don't believe in gay marriage, right? So people put the bill up. Then when the bill was in place and then they realized what was there, they was like, we canceled that out. We did this too? Yeah. Because what they did was they played on your fear. Because some people actually are afraid of people in the community. And if God told you not to have the spirit of fear, why are you fearful? Help me understand why you're fearful. If you're operating in a place of fear, you're not only you're doing the groundwork for the enemy. You're killing people. If you're not killing them directly, you're killing them with your words. You're spiritually killing a few folks. You're stealing resources from other people. You dress it up as one thing, knowing that your intentions are completely different, and you destroy lives because of it, all to make yourself look better and higher. Oh, I'm gonna bring it back home because I know some people probably nodding their head and say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Politicians do that, but okay. Another example of that in off the podium would be when you ask people to give you a ride, but you never give them gas money. Why are you afraid to give them gas money? And I would give them gas money if they ask me, but they never ask me. They shouldn't have to ask. You know that they are utilizing their resources to help you, to help assist you. So if they stop giving you a ride or always now brushing you off, that's a sign that you have worn out your welcome wagon. Or even yet, you're not appreciative of the things that they help you with. People like gratitude. They like to be thanked, right? People like to get praises of things that they've done and recognized. That's why you have so many shout outs. Some people will say, shout out to the people that was there in my corner when I was going through, because they know that they didn't have to do that. They weren't obligated to do that, but they did it out of the free will of their heart. So when people do things out of the free will of their heart, and especially if they didn't have to ask you, know that they did that out of the goodness of their hearts. But that doesn't mean that you go and take advantage of them because you are afraid to step out on faith, and you are afraid to make the necessary changes to put your life in order the way it's supposed to be. I call it fear all the way around. All the way around. But it's enough of that. It is time for people to mature the right way. It's time for people to grow up. It is time for people to actually uh, look into things, right? And I guess the politician, the political things are on my mind because I did do my civil duty on today. I can't even pull it off. I voted today. I'm excited because I'm in a new area. I'm in a new space because I know some of you are like, wait, you went and voted today? We had an election. I did in my new city. I'm in a new city, and we had an election day. I made sure that I had all the things um, ready for me to even vote. Right? I can't be in this space and allow other people to dictate my life for me without having a say in it, without saying I at least want this person to represent me, because that's essentially what happens in fear. That's the other side of the fear piece. What you're doing is saying, I'm going to let this situation, whatever that situation is, speak on my behalf. I'm going to allow this situation to determine how I move with people, right? Because uh, because you are a secret drug addict, right? And because every now and then you need to get your fix, right? This drug tells you, hey, I'm almost out. What you gonna do? How you gonna get your next fix? Oh, well, let me go borrow some money from such and such because I know they're going to give it to me. And you ask them, and they say, yeah, I'll give it to you. And I mean, you're good for giving it back, but then you ask them either for that amount or something less again. So it's almost like you didn't really learn your lesson. You just begging at this point. Oh, well, I have this coming up, and I was wondering if you could help contribute to the. How long did you know that this thing was coming up? Oh, you knew that this was coming up for in 6 months. So for 5 months, 5 months and 2 weeks, you did nothing to prepare for this. And now it's crunch time, and now you need to get some things in place. So when the person doesn't help you, now you're upset with them because you was afraid to move, because you allowed your addiction to dictate who and how you were going to move in this world. I know this is for somebody because it's several things that I wish I could share. I wish I could see. Sometimes I wish I could see what I see in people and situations, because I look at people and I'm like, you would rather suffer than to get everything right, than to go through the process of getting things right, knowing that your life would be 10 times better if you did it right the first time. We wouldn't have so much political back and forth if people actually research, if people stop giving their opinions on things and actually talk from the truth. Because remember, fear will have you do all kind of things, even lie. If I haven't said that, I think I did, but I'm just going to say it now. If I didn't, you will lie out of fear. Because if the truth ever was to get out, people can see past everything that you ever stated. You will not be viewed the same. People will not treat you the same. And so, in order to keep that appearance, you will lie. And that is not how the world should operate. It it operates. It just operates. How did I say it earlier? You're it's not effective. It's a defective operation because the things that should teach you to change, you have now misused and abused and twisted it for your own reality, your own version of the truth. But eventually the truth comes out and people still see you for who you are. And people leave you alone. And people don't speak your name. But I'm saying all of this is because, just like the title suggests, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Make the changes that are necessary to take you to the next step. Make those changes now while your time is slow, while you have nothing to do, because if you don't, um, life will pass you by. She called out a warning. Don't ever let life pass you by. Pass you by. That's a real song, by the way. For everybody who know that song, hey. But don't let life pass you by because you refuse to change, because fear has you in the chokehold. Don't do it. Make those necessary changes. Stop trying to use people. Stop trying to manipulate people, because that's all that I've been talking about. It's manipulation. Stop trying to manipulate people. Just do it right the first time. If you don't have it, just say you don't have it. If you can't do it because you didn't prepare for it, just say that. Live in your truth. That's what living in your truth is all about. Right? Be you, but know who you are. Don't paint a picture of somebody else and say that that's you. Because, baby, when they compare the photos, baby, this person's wearing a red hat and you come in here with a neon green hat. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. I really didn't mean to go this long, but I have. We're here now. But I hope you get what you need to make those changes. We can't. I really heard, as I was about to talk, I really heard sometimes you got to switch it up and confuse the enemy. I don't know who that's for, but I really heard that. Sometimes you got to switch it up to confuse the enemy. Because some of you operate in patterns for so long that The enemy literally knows your every move, your every thought, your every uh, word that you're going to say. It's almost like 2 minutes from now, he's going to say, oh, well, it's about that time. And then 2 minutes later, oh, it's about that time. Yeah, because it's like the enemy knows you so well that the enemy even knows what you're gonna say before you say it. That's how bad it is. That's how bad of a pattern it is for some of you all. And truthfully, that's why some people don't answer your call, because I ain't heard from this person in 2 weeks. They must need something, because they don't never call me until they need something. And here you go. I just want to say, thank you for the last time you did. And I never forgot what you did for me, but I was wondering if you could. They wanted something. Start doing better, people. Stop manipulating people. Stop being fearful. Learn the facts for what it is, because enough is enough. And you should be tired of still struggling the same way that you're struggling because you refuse to make changes. Okay? You all have a good night and be blessed. That's a command. Be blessed. Good night.